United States wants out of the Paris Accord on climate change.
The debate is over. Climate change is real. And if we do not act boldly and decisively, a bad situation will become worse.
Team FAST is a beautiful example how chemistry can change the world.
Team FAST has a very good project. It works on a very important issue, storing, let's say, renewable energy in a transportable form.
Team FAST is really professional. They take all the safety aspects into account.
One thing is to build a prototype, but these guys already scaled up 42,000 times in output.
We should buy a special person for the car who's gonna chase it with a heat gun over.
Those few frames, those last few frames, that's when it all started. That's when we got the spark in our hearts that made us work day and night for over 2 years to get where we are today. I would like to welcome all our friends and family, those that had to miss us during these days and nights. And I would like to welcome all our partners and sponsors, who have been called all these days and also nights by us. My name is Max Aerts, and I would like to welcome you all to the presentation of Showcase Rex. My name is Max Aerts, team manager of Team FAST, 26 years old. And today I'm going to tell you something about the history of Team FAST. How did we all start? And together with Jela, Lucas and Tijn, we will tell you about our challenges, the challenges we faced, and also our success in solving these. But of course, the review itself, Rex, the range extender we have built. And of course, why? Why do we do this? That's maybe a good question to start with. Why formic acid? Well, we as Team FAST believe that using sustainable technologies are the most convenient technologies to use and should not have to come with any drawbacks. We think that we can keep on fueling our cars like we used to with a liquid. No need for long charging times or range anxiety, no. Even not storing the smallest gas in the world at 700 bar of pressure. No, we don't think that is necessary. We think that with some innovative steps, we can do it a hell of a lot easier. Well, since formic acid is a liquid, you can keep on refueling in the current infrastructure, which makes it, of course, very cheap to implement, and therefore the transition can also go a lot quicker. On top of that, the energy density of formic acid is 3 times higher than that of compressed hydrogen, and even 4 times as much as batteries, meaning that you can take 4 times as much energy along in the same volume. And last but not least, it's sustainable, of course. Never forget that. We always do because it's obvious for us, but it's sustainable. Well, how did we start? Because now you know why, but how? How did we end up here today? Well, roughly 2 years ago, it all started during an honors program. In that program, we were free to do something with energy. And we as students had the ambition to find out, well, maybe we can store energy in the way plants do it, with artificial photosynthesis. But before diving too deep in that, we actually came across a catalyst that was recently discovered at our university. And during an experiment of some students, something went wrong, and a lot of hydrogen gas was being produced. And after further investigation by PhD student Georgi Filimenko, he discovered a new catalyst. And the unique thing about this catalyst was that it was 10 times faster than ever before in the world possible, and still is record-breaking today. Well, together with Filimenko, we started to work on a little prototype, as you can see over here. We installed a little reformer, some fuel cells, 600 milliwatt in total, and we injected a little formic acid in it, and it started to bubble and started to do stuff, and then it started to move. It actually drove on formic acid. This is the world's first tiny car on formic acid. And we thought, this is brilliant. We need to spread this message. We need to tell the world this is possible. So we attended in a pitch contest, the Brains Awards. And in this Brains Awards, it's a pitch contest for 2 minutes. You can win 5,000 euros. And we pitched there and we actually won. And that gave us, of course, the encouragement, but also, the 5,000 euros to make a next prototype. So that's, we could move on. So in 2015, September, we officially founded student team, Team Fast, and started to work on Junior, as you can see in front of me. Yet again, a little tank, a reformer, a fuel cell, but now a little bit bigger, to be precise, 42 times bigger. And of course a little more sophisticated, because we also wanted to play with it. Remain boys. But also a control system, so we could actually regulate how much power that was being produced. We finished this model within 6 months and then presented it to the world. And we received a lot of media attention for it and a lot of positive reactions. And I would like to give you a flashback to that moment, how that was for us and what the reactions were of the public.
Aan de TU in Eindhoven hebben ze weer een nieuwe variant bedacht.
Een auto die rijdt op lege zuur en kan een doorbraak zijn voor het milieuvriendelijke auto's.
Het eerder studententeam van de Technische Universiteit Eindhoven een schaalmodel van 1 meter lang. Een revolutionaire vinding van de studenten.
Het volgende doel is om aan het eind van dit jaar een bus op deze brandstof te laten rijden.
Nu één grote 1 meter auto maken en dan moeten ze nog experimenteren. Dit duurt.
Thank you. That was amazing, all these reactions, and yet again we got the encouragement to move on. We should do this. But, as you already heard, we wanted to build a bus together with VDL. But, as you can imagine, you need a lot more power for that. But maybe first, why a bus? Because you see a tiny car, then a little bit of a bigger car. You would expect it to have a real car, but it's a bus. So why? Well, when you look at e-mobility, you all know the Tesla, right? It has a range of 300, 400 kilometers. That's good. Nobody, especially not in the Netherlands, drives that on a daily basis. But we have to look beyond. When you look, for instance, at buses, they also need a power source. And you could say, batteries, they can be suitable there as well. And that's true, because you already see them in Eindhoven driving around. But there is a very important difference. The range of such a bus is maximum 200 kilometers, while the bus operators are used to double the amount, 400 kilometers. So imagine if you have a truck, a very heavy big truck, it also needs a lot more power, or ships. So therefore we say, okay, a better solution besides battery technology is needed. And we should show that to the world, that it's possible, also on large scale, to do it. So therefore, we started to build a bus. The world's first bus on Hydrozine. And maybe some of you might think, huh, hydrozine, what's that? Yeah, hydrozine, or in Dutch, hydrozine. That's the new name we gave to formic acid. Formic acid for mobile applications, for fuel applications. And it's basically the same, but with a very important detail. Hydrozine is sustainably produced formic acid. So that's why we changed the name. Well, as you can imagine, we're going to build a bus, but yeah, you need also a bigger budget for that. So what we started to do is look around for prizes or contests or subsidies, and we came across this one, the STW Open Mind Subsidy. And it was not really for students, it was actually for professors. Professors that wanted to do a certain research could apply for this and then receive 50,000 euros. But yeah, we thought it's an open mind subsidy, right? We might not be professors, but well, we're also a bit smart, so why don't just try it? And what we did is we sent them the following piece of footage. So, are you open-minded enough to make a student team apply and make this project a success? Yeah! Yeah, I know, it's a very embarrassing piece of footage, but are you open-minded enough to make a student team apply? And guess what? We went home with the 50,000. That was what we needed. We needed, of course, a bigger budget, and yet again, the encouragement of guys, keep on doing what you're doing. So we could start building a bus. And to highlight the scale up, from Pico to Junior, it was 42 times. From Junior to the bus, from 25 watts to 25 kilowatts. That's 1,000 times scaling up. Insane. So if you take a look at what we've done in the last 2 years, we went up 42,000 times in scale. Well, as you can imagine, yeah, this is not fooling around any longer. This is serious science, and you need really a next level chemistry, yeah, in order to make a bus work on this principle as well. So therefore, I would like to welcome the head of our chemistry department, Jela Wijdkom, to the stage. Please give him a hand of applause.
Well, thank you, Max. My name is Jela Wijdkom. I'm the current chemical chief of Team FAST. So my job is to make everything happen chemical-wise. And this is a really important part of our system. We did a lot of chemical research to discover and develop the best catalyst possible. The catalyst decomposes the hydrozine into carbon dioxide and hydrogen gas. And the way it does, it's shown over here. Well, it should have shown over here. So it should have shown an animation where the hydrogen molecule on the left goes through the catalyst, which is here portrayed as a pair of scissors. And this catalyst or pair of scissors then splits the hydrogen into carbon dioxide and hydrogen gas, which are the products. These products, hydrogen and carbon dioxide, can then move away from the catalyst, but the catalyst itself remains. So it can do the same thing over and over again with different molecules of hydrogen. So it isn't consumed by the reaction itself. This catalyst is really important, it's really the core of our project, and that's also the reason why no one's ever done a system on hydrogen before. Because only 3 years ago, the first catalyst was discovered that could actually convert hydrogen productive enough for it to be feasible in a real practical solution. And that's also why we do all of these chemical testing, to really tweak and better our catalyst. And to kind of quantify what's a good and a bad catalyst, we made a grading scale based on the amount of stars, where 3 stars is the highest score and 1 star the lowest. And these stars were given for the 3 characteristics of which we think are the most important for our catalyst. The first one is durability. So a catalyst can stop working after it has converted a certain amount of molecules or after a certain amount of time. And the durability is a measure of how fast this catalyst can stop working. So an undurable catalyst can, for instance, stop working after a week or a day. And then you have to change your catalytic solution completely, which isn't favorable. Just imagine that you have a car and you need to change your oil every week or every day. You wouldn't want to do that. The second characteristic is the productivity. And this is a measure for how fast the scissors can cut, or how fast a molecule of catalyst can convert a certain amount of molecules of hydrazine. And the more productive the catalyst is, the less of it you actually need. So the less catalytic solution you need. And then the last characteristic is the efficiency, or actually the energy efficiency. The catalyst uses a certain amount of energy to do its reaction based on the process conditions. And all of the energy that you need to put into the catalyst cannot be used again by your bus, so it's essentially lost. The more energy you lose, the lower your energy efficiency actually is. And this grading scale was applied to all the prototypes we've made so far, and the catalysts belonging to said prototypes. So the first one is the Pico. It uses a catalyst discovered by the TU Eindhoven, and as Max already mentioned, the special thing about this catalyst was that it was really productive. It was actually, back then, one of the most productive catalysts ever made. But the major drawback for our application was it wasn't durable at all. It would break down within a week, or even couldn't come in contact with air, or would break down immediately. Energy efficiency-wise, it wasn't that good, so it scored 2 out of 3 stars. So really, for this part, even though we had a very productive catalyst, because of the durability, we couldn't use it anymore. And that's why for our next one, we were searching for a really durable catalyst. And we found one discovered by Laurenzi Gabor, a professor from the University of Lausanne in Switzerland. And he discovered this was used in the Junior, our next prototype. He discovered a really durable catalyst, but it wasn't as productive, and even worse was its energy efficiency. Almost all the energy that would have been produced by our hydrogen needed to go back into the catalyst just to get the reaction going. So your overall system efficiency would be very low. Now, we had a catalyst for Junior, we had a catalyst for Pico, and also for our next scale system, the REX, we have also a different catalyst, Substance X. And why so the mysterious name, Substance X? Well, that's because, as I mentioned, the catalyst really is the core of our project. It's our most innovative part, and you won't just give it away and just someone can steal your system. Substance X was a good catalyst. It had a lot of durability, as much as the previous one used in Junior. But it had a main advantage that the energy efficiency was really high. Not much energy was lost because of the process condition. Productivity-wise, it wasn't as good as the one used in Pico. It wasn't record-breaking or anything. But after doing a lot of chemical tests on the small scale in the chemical lab, we still managed to get a really productive catalyst. And to show you this, I have the following example. These 4 barrels over here represent the amount of catalytic volume you need when you actually want to produce enough hydrogen to power a bus with the catalyst used in Junior. And this small barrel is how much we actually need now with Substance X. So we essentially increased the productivity by 1,000%, making this part of the system 10 times smaller. So for an overview, we first used the catalyst in Pico, which was really productive, but not durable. And then we came to Junior, which was a really productive, durable catalyst, but its major flaws were its productivity and its efficiency. And last but not least, for the REX, Substance X was our most well-rounded catalyst, with a really great durability and efficiency and a good productivity as well. All the tests and all the results I've shown so far are still on the small scale, so in a chemical lab somewhere at the TUE. But as you can imagine, when you're building a system that can power a bus, it quickly gets too big for just a regular lab. You actually want a lab where you can drive in your big system and produce the large amount of hydrogen that you want to produce. So we needed to search for a new lab. And this turned out to be harder than we thought. We couldn't really find a lab that met our requirements, and that's why we just thought, why not build one ourselves? How hard can it be, right? We found an old building in the automotive campus in Helmond, which was back then only used for storage. And within half a year, we completely refurnished it into a fully functioning lab. And to show this, I can now give you a quick tour of the place. Welcome to our workspace in Helmond. It basically consists of two parts. The first part is over here. It's our small scale area. We have all the facilities that we need to do the small scale testing. I will show you. So over here we have a chemical storage cabinet, a fume hood, and those are both ventilated, and the ventilation is controlled over here. We have another safety feature that is a gas sensor to measure if anything is leaking. We can do all the small tests that we would normally do at the GUE, but we can do it now in Helmond. But that's of course not the reason why we moved to Helmond. That was the big scale test facility. That's over there. Behind these plastic sheets is a fully ventilated room, so even if something leaks, it isn't a problem. And we can just drive our system within these plastic sheets and do our testing as we want. We have the same sensors in there as we had over there to prevent the building from exploding. And last but not least, we have the control room over here. And in here we can see everything that's happening inside the system. So flows and temperatures, but we can also control it if we want to. Like for example the pump speed or the temperature as I just mentioned. The last safety feature we have is an emergency stop button over here. We can just press it if anything goes wrong without us having to go actually into the fume hood. So we now have all the facilities that we need, and the next step for us is to go from the small scale in the lab to the big scale, to really our full system. And we want to do this in one go, in one skill step. And just to remind you, this really isn't a normal thing to do. Usually in industry they take a lot of small scale steps, an endless amount of testing, which costs both a lot of time and a lot of resources. But we as Team Fast, we made it work on a small scale, even though we encountered a lot of problems. We just think we build our system and we believe in ourselves that we can also make it work on the big scale as well. We're just going to try it. And the most beautiful part of it is, we started doing these testing last week and the first signs really show that it works. Within the first 2 hours of testing, we already produced over 10,000 liters of gas, making Team Fast the first in the world to produce hydrogen gas from Hydrozine on this scale. So now, by this story, it has been proven that it's doable, both from a scientific and a chemical point of view. But what about all the other things around it that you need to take into account when you want to drive on Hydrozine? That's going to be our next part by our ER and marketing manager, Lucas van Capelle. Give him a warm welcome.
Nice, chef. Well, hello everybody. My name is Lucas van Capelle. In the past year I was responsible for the external relations, finance and marketing of Team Fast. What we realized during the scale up of the Pico into the Rex, the city bus for in your street, we came along a lot more than only technical problems, and this is what I'll tell you more about today. If we present our team, for example during the Hannover Messe, the first questions we often get is, how is Hydrozine produced? Is it really sustainable? Where can I refuel it and how much will it cost? To answer these questions, we introduced the Hydrozine chain. In the Hydrozine chain, we comprise production, distribution and applications of Hydrozine. And together with some awesome partners, we did a lot of projects concerning this Hydrozine chain, which I will tell you more about. So let's start by the beginning. How is Hydrozine produced? At this moment, we have 3 production methods of Hydrozine. The existing unsustainable production, the electrochemical production, and the organic production of Hydrozine. So let's start at the top with the unsustainable production. At the moment, Hydrozine is produced unsustainably by big chemical companies like BASF. However, the capacity of those production methods are relatively limited and they are not sustainable. So the sources of this Hydrozine are, for example, coal, oil, or gas. Furthermore, the capacity is only 1.6 million liters per year, while a bus already needs 100,000 liters per year. So this actually means that via this production processes, only 25% of all the buses in the Netherlands could drive on Hydrozine. Furthermore, it's not sustainable, which actually means that if we would drive our bus on this Hydrozine, we would emit 5 times more CO2 than a comparable diesel bus. So this actually made us realize that we need an alternative. We need a new way to produce Hydrozine, which is simply bigger and also sustainable. Well, we went on and looked into the production of Hydrozine in a sustainable manner, and the first route we found was the electrochemical route. The source of electrochemical production of hydrazine is, the CO2 source is, for example, from a manure plant or from a waste processing plant. So this is sustainable CO2 already from the atmosphere. Furthermore, we need sustainable electricity, which we of course can produce with solar panels or wind. And we started working. Under the flag of Voltegem, we joined with companies to work on the first formic acid production plant, which was sustainable. And we're now focusing on a production plant of sustainable hydrazine, which will produce 2 million liters per year. So we often get the question, how sustainable is it really? Well, we have an official life cycle analysis report that shows per kilometer driven, we emit exactly 0 grams of CO2. And this might sound strange because, as Jela told you, the hydrazine is decomposed in CO2 and water gas, and we emit the CO2. However, the report shows that we in the production processes use exactly the same amount of CO2. So as you can actually see it, is we're using the CO2 and the water to temporarily store energy. And that means that eventually we're completely carbon neutral. Well, recently Team Voss started working on an alternative way of producing hydrazine, namely the organic production processes. We're doing this together with a company called Hydrozine. And what we're actually looking into is to produce hydrazine from nettles, or in Dutch, brandnetels. What we only need to do to grow these nettles is simply chicken manure and water. So this actually means that you're able to grow your own fuel with a plant. And this might sound futuristic, but they're already, the first plants are already growing, and you can see one in our bus later on. So cool, now we know we can produce hydrazine sustainably, but you have to take the next step. If you want to get it in your vehicle, we need a fueling infrastructure. Well, there are already companies that transport hydrazine, but there was no tank station yet available. And that's why we took the next step. Together with our partner Hamer, we started working technically on how to make the world's first fueling station of hydrazine. And we already made the world's first demo model, which you could see outside, which is really, really special. So we're not only making a product, but we are also creating everything else that's needed for it, as for example the fueling stations. Some things are different, but most of the things are comparable with how you fuel diesel or gasoline. But the things that are special are, for example, the pump and the hosing, but we also created a special connection, and this connection enables us to fuel without any dripping, which means that you or the environment will never come into contact with hydrazine, and it's completely safe. So, as you can see outside, this is the first station, but this is, as you can see, still a small station. And we're right now looking into large-scale fueling stations, and that means that we can actually refurbish existing diesel stations into hydrazine stations. So we don't have to build a new infrastructure, but we can use the existing infrastructure. And this makes it very, very easy for us to implement hydrazine in the world. Well, now we get the most important question, the money. How much will it cost me? Let's talk about numbers. Well, first of all, we'll compare the price per kilometer that a bus needs. So how much fuel do you have to use to drive 1 kilometer in a city bus? And we do this for the price of hydrazine at the moment and the future price of hydrazine. And the future price of hydrazine will of course be lower because it will be produced in larger quantities. At the moment, hydrazine costs around 60 cents per liter, and the expected price of the future by the suppliers is 30 cents per liter. We will compare these with gasoline and diesel, the existing fossil fuels, but this is quite abnormal because they are already produced at large scale. So let's see how it turns out. If you compare the price, you can see that at the moment, hydrazine costs around 89 cents per kilometer, and gasoline 91%. So at the moment, we're already cheaper than gasoline. If you look at the future price, it's around 45 cents per liter for hydrazine, and 50 cents per kilometer for diesel. So these are prices for a city bus. And then you can see that we're actually producing an alternative that has the potential to be even cheaper than gasoline and diesel. So that's really exciting. There's one other more thing that's also a big disadvantage of, for example, hydrogen gas, and that's the really expensive infrastructure. If you want to build a hydrogen fueling station, it can cost you millions of euros. And that's also one of the things that we start working with Hamer on. And what we're actually exploring now with Hamer is that the infrastructure is very easy and also very cheap. And that shows that for the production of 1 hydrogen gas fueling stations, we can build exactly 100 hydrazine fueling stations. And this actually enables us to really quickly create an infrastructure and also really open the way for hydrazine applications. So now, I've told you everything you need to know except for the vehicle. I showed you how you can produce hydrazine and how we later can fuel it. So now the moment is there. I think we all want to see the first hydrazine vehicle, and this will be done by Tijn Swinkels, our technical manager.
Thank you, Lucas, for the introduction. My name is Stijn Swinkels. I am the technical manager of Team Fast, and I will reveal the racks. So, first, Max told you all about the bus. We wanted to build a bus. But our main goal is to prove Hydrozine is a sustainable energy carrier. This means that we want to prove that it works and not build an entire bus. So that's why we chose to build a trailer instead of a whole bus. But how does it work? Our system consists of 3 main parts: the tank, the reformer and the fuel cell. In our tank, the hydrozyne is stored, as you can see here. Here is the hydrozyne molecule and the tank. After we stored our hydrozyne, we need to convert it into hydrogen and carbon dioxide. This hydrogen and carbon dioxide is the thing that Jela explained. So we made this really fast. We made the scaling down of 10 times. So now we have the hydrogen, but we need to convert it to electricity. For that bit we use a fuel cell. In the fuel cell, hydrogen is combined with oxygen from the outside air to water and electricity. So now we can go from hydrozyne to electricity in our vehicle. When we started in January 2016, after the junior, we approached VDL. VDL had already built a hydrogen to power system, so the last bit from the fuel cell. So this was a really big advantage because we only needed to build the first 2 systems. So this was already built by VDL. In the end, unfortunately, it turned out that the fuel cell was not able to handle our gas. So we needed to find a solution. We tried to make it work, but that was not possible in a vehicle. So this was not an option. Then, in April 2016, we met Mark Rutte, Prime Minister Mark Rutte. But more importantly, we met PowerCell at this fair. PowerCell is a company that was able to provide us with a fuel cell that could handle our gases. So we decided in June 2016 to build our own trailer. This was the start of racks. As you can see, a lot of work needed to be done because there was only a cascade of steel, nothing more. We needed to completely build the whole system. But the problem was we didn't know anything about fuel cells. So this made the designing phase really hard. When we finished the designing phase, our system consisted of almost 40 meters of tubing, 1100 meters of cabling, 42 sensors and more than 600 components. But as Jela explained, last week we tested the first part of our system, and this showed that the first 2 systems work, the tank and the reformer. The only thing left to do now is to make sure the fuel cell works. And now I would like to show you a short movie about the last 2 test weeks. proud to present to you Team Fast Rex. I need to wait a little bit longer, but yeah, here it is, our trailer. The first thing we need to do, of course, is refuel our trailer. So, yeah, how do we do that? I would like to ask Max if he could help me, because Lucas explained something about the infrastructure that we had. Here, if you could see it, we have our own fueling station, and we have a special connection to the bus. So, Max, could you connect it to the thing? So now we can refuel our system. So now we're refueling, and where does the Hydrozine go? Now, in our system we have a 300-liter tank. This tank contains enough Hydrozine to go from here to Rotterdam and back. So our trailer could extend the range of the bus with 200 kilometers. Also, the nice thing about the Hydrozine is that it's a liquid, so you can easily increase the capacity of our total system compared to, for example, batteries or Hydrozine systems. Also, if you run out of your fuel, you can just go to the fueling station and refuel your system as you used to. So here you see on the picture, for those who cannot see, the tank. But now we need to convert the Hydrozine into hydrogen gas and carbon dioxide. In our reformer, the Hydrozine is poured into from the bottom, and then this allows the Hydrozine to react with the catalyst and form hydrogen gas and carbon dioxide. This hydrogen gas and carbon dioxide is then transferred to our fuel cell. This is the part that you see there and on my slide here. In this fuel cell, the hydrogen is converted into electricity. When we have generated this electricity, we need to supply all the different demands of power. We have 3 different demands of power in our system. The bus, of course, the trailer itself, and for example a cell phone on a small event. We can do this with those 3 power outputs. For now, as you can see, we already attached a lot of things to the fuel cell. We are almost there to start testing the fuel cell, and we would like to finish this within this year. So I would like to ask Mark back on the stage to finish the presentation.
Thanks. Well, thank you, Tijn, for this amazing review. I think it's super cool, right? It's amazing. Yeah, I even lost my text due to it. No, I would like to say a few more words before we really go to the drinks. And for that, I would like to have the entire team FAST, everybody that worked so hard for the last 1.5, 2 years on the stage, together here with me. It's going to be tight, but we're going to do it. If you go and yeah, we're gonna squeeze. Right. As a student team, of course, we can do an amazing job, and not only us, also the other student teams from the university. And we make super cool things. But one thing is very, very important, because although we show this to the world and really put our region on the map, we cannot do it without the partners and companies, families, our friends that support us. So therefore, from Team Fast, we would like to give you all a very big applause. Thank you. And of course, one more thing. What we did inside the bus, because you might have seen it in the video already a bit, but we also redid the entire inside. We made the Fast experience. So later on you can enter from the front, experience Fast along the heartbeat, and then enter at the back and see the system for yourself. Now, before the drinks, there's one more thing I would like to do, and that's thank the team. Guys, girls, we have pushed ourselves to the limit, we have pushed each other to the limit, and we have pushed science to the limit. And look at this, it's amazing. I'm so proud, we are all proud, and please give this team the biggest applause in the world. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. Before starting the music, of course, we have to make a picture. I will sit here. Yes, everybody ready? All right, for now I would like to welcome you all to the inside of the bus. We can start over here. Don't run, please, but do it slowly.